Hey everybody, I've got a car, my old 2000 Monte Carlo is about to turn 200,000 miles. And so I wanted to get this done for posterity, whatever you call it. Okay, we bought this car secondhand when it had about 63,000 miles on it. Bought it for my wife, bought it on St. Valentine's Day. Not that I'm some big romantic type, it just happened to happen on that day. And it's been her car. So this car, we've had it, and whoever had it before us, like I said, put about 63,000 on it. We bought it, I believe, in 2003 or 2004. So this car's averaged a little over 10,000 miles a year. And that ain't bad. I guess if I live to be 77, that's when it'll turn 300,000, which I hope when I turn 77, I'm doing this again at 300,000 miles. But in the time we've had the car, I'd say it was at about 150,000 miles. I don't know if the person that owned it before us ever did it or not, but that was the first and only time I've ever replaced the spark plugs on this car. When at that time we also replaced the coil packs and the plug wires, and I replaced the oxygen sensor, which the check engine light was on, and that's the code it showed, but that never went away. And then I just recently replaced that oxygen sensor again, and this time the code did go away, and it's just showing that low coolant level, but the low coolant level, it isn't low, and for some reason when I clear it, it just comes right back on. But hey, the car's old. We've replaced the fuel pump in it. When the fuel pump went, it gave absolutely no warning at all. It just went. And they're easy to replace on these cars. And the starter, I replaced that once, and that went with absolutely no warning. Batteries have gone on me, and when batteries go on this car, they never give a warning. You go out, you start it up, boom, starts right up. You drive, you go to a place, you come out, won't start. Battery's dead. I don't know if that's the way it is with all what I call new cars, even though this is a 2000. I think of cars still in my mind, cars of the 50s and 60s. I don't know why, but anything past 1970 is kind of new to me. Anyways, the window actuators have been replaced twice, along with the power switches. The new ones you buy ain't worth a crap. So we never put the windows up and down unless we absolutely have to. The AC in this car works great. I did have a problem with it in the past, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it was the blower motor. I thought it was the switch that you turn to, turn the speed of the motor, the fan up from 1 to 5. It turned out to be these little fine wires that wrapped around the ignition switch were like kinked. And so by being kinked, they were causing a short. So I replaced the ignition switch, and when I did that, I found out that the wires are like really bent hard around it. They're real small, and if you didn't, it was just literally shit luck that I found it. And so I basically filed off part of the plastic that they wrapped around on the switch, so that they were now relaxed instead of like really tight around a sharp corner. And I've never had a problem with the AC since. Prior to that, the AC sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. You'd turn the ignition on and play with the thing and keep playing with the ignition, and all of a sudden it would decide, okay, I want to work. And then it would go out again. But that's what it was. I mentioned, oh yeah, this is a big thing with these cars. Now, I just did this about 5,000 miles ago. Again, never done it. The motor mount was shot, and the motor mount in this car, if I had replaced it when this car was, say, at 150,000 miles, I would have saved. I wouldn't have probably had to replace the lower control arm and the axle shafts. But that motor mount, because it was so loose. It was actually it was causing the car to actually have a rough idle. I know that sounds crazy, but we had gone and tried all kinds of things to get the rough idle to go away. You know, when you'd pull up to a red light, the car would start to go, and the idle needle would actually go up and down. And I did find a couple of vacuum leaks, which helped out a little bit, but it didn't fix it. And this friend of mine who's a mechanic, he said, it's your motor mount. And I was like, wow, really? He says, yeah. He says, try replacing the motor mount. And I did it, and that fixed it. So if you've got a Monte Carlo and you're at like 150,000 miles and you haven't done it, replace the motor mount, replace the fuel pump if it hasn't already gone, and replace the starter, because I guarantee you they're going to go any minute on you. Well, the starter and the fuel pump are going to go at 150. If they haven't already gone, they're getting ready to go. And if you replace the motor mount at that point in time, you're going to save yourself a lot of aggravation down the road. And I really like these cars. This is my car now, and we bought my wife a 2002 Monte Carlo that's just now approaching 90,000 miles. And since we already know all the ins and outs of these cars from this one, her car's getting taken care of before, it's getting preventive maintenance. I also replaced the headlights and the taillights on it. They're cheap, they're easy to replace, and they make an older car look great. This thing's going to turn over any minute now. I hope it turns before the light turns red. I got a yellow light. I'm going to have to stop. Maybe it will turn, maybe it won't. But I also think these cars will be collectible in the future. They have a nice style. I think it's a 5-year run. Then they changed the nose on them some. I don't like them after that. Hey, look at that. She did it. 200,000 miles and still going. This car's never been out of the state hardly at all. It's been pretty much driven local. It's not beautiful. If you see it, it doesn't look like some car that's been sitting in a barn for the last 15 years. It looks worn, but she does the job. We replaced the radio in it. The flash has been replaced. Of course, the tires have been replaced. I've always changed the oil regularly. I always put a wet oil filter on. I fill it up, and some of the oil will fall out while I'm trying to, put it on. But basically, it's got a wet filter instead of a dry filter. I think I said already, the fuel filter I change regularly. I've changed the transmission fluid on it a couple times, and the car's been very, very good overall. A couple times I've taken into a mechanics, and they've taken me over to the cleaners when I just couldn't figure it out. And sometimes you just gotta pay, but we like them. And everybody, I hope to be able to do this at 300,000 miles, and if I do, I'll put the two together. We'll see you all. Thanks for watching. And Monte Carlos are pretty good cars. Everybody, have a great year.